Hello, everybody. Good morning. It is time to get the Creator Lab party started right here at the NAB show in Las Vegas. So thank you all for coming out for our first session of what's going to be 4 days of packed content all the way through Wednesday. All sorts of great stuff going on up here. I'm Jim Lauterbach. I'm the CEO and editor of Inside the Creator Economy. I will be your host today. I'll pop up on a couple of panels, doing a little bit of moderating as well. We have so much going on here on this stage. Got the state of the industry coming right up, Fortune 500 brands and how they are betting on creators. We'll find out about how you can scale your business as a creator. We have a couple of people working at some of the top creator studios out there who will be up here. Talk about the clipping revolution, how we measure impact beyond views, so much here. So also, as you're here at the Creator Lab, don't forget to visit all of our great companies here. They have their booths. They're showing off amazing stuff. So walk around, take a look at what's there. Really great ways to build your creator business with all the people that are here in the Creator Lab. Tomorrow, we have a happy hour here from 5 to 6, sponsored by Black Magic. That's going to be a lot of fun. But what's really going to be fun is getting this next session on stage. We're going to talk about the state of the creator economy. So we're going to kick it off with a look at emerging trends, a look at real challenges, and the opportunities that are coming from everything that's happening next. So give a big round of applause to our next group. Our first group, Drew Baldwin, co-founder and CEO, Tubefilter. He will be moderating. Pierre-Loic Assayag, co-founder and CEO at Traackr. Alessandro Bogliari, the co-founder and CEO at the Influencer Marketing Factory. And Natalie Jarvie, editor of Like and Subscribe, a great newsletter that you should actually subscribe to from Ankler Media. Drew, come on down. Big round of applause for these guys.
Can you hear me? Oh, how are you doing today? How's everyone? Thank you for showing up early. Appreciate it. I took the monorail, which I barely made it. Thank you so much. How many of you here are creators? And how many of you consider yourselves marketers or advertisers? Okay, great. So the way we're going to break down today's short session, talking about the state of the creator economy, and it's really like the now and the future we're going to be talking about. Is talk a little bit on the brand side and on the creator side, and then we're going to look to the future about that. And if we have time, we'll ask some questions. Otherwise, feel free to reach out to us. We'll provide contact information. I think my name is Drew Baldwin, and I think we're going to introduce ourselves really quick because we have some stuff. No? Yes? Am I doing this right? I don't know. I might need help. Okay. So, Tubefilter, we're a media company. We write about the business of the creator economy. We've been doing it for almost 20 years. And we also have a data analytics platform called Gospel. And we've just put out the most comprehensive look at creator brand partnerships. Take a look at this QR code and grab it. And you can see like what are the major trends with YouTube sponsorship. So if you're a creator looking for sponsorship integration, this is the biggest resource. And this report is a great way to summarize the trends of the past year. We'll talk a little bit more, but I'll move on to my next. Go ahead. Why don't you introduce yourself, Pierre?
Hey, everyone. Pierre Assayag. I'm the CEO of Traackr. Traackr is a technology company. Our platform is the backbone of many of the largest creator programs around the world. We help with creator management as well as insights. So we dwell in data. I'd be happy to discuss a lot of this today.
Alessandro.
Hello, everyone. I'm Alessandro Bogliari, CEO and co-founder of the Influencer Marketing Factory. We are a global influencer marketing agency. We help brands with everything that is influencer marketing related, creator economy, paid media, and so on. We went out with this creator economy report this year. We do that every year. It's like 60 plus pages of a lot of data. And, we interview creators. So we ask to brands how they're feeling about the state of the creator economy and so on. This slide, it's 5 million creators that we analyzed.
Wow.
In collaboration with Moderator. It's a platform. And basically what it's interesting of this one, and, of course, we can discuss about later on this one, that there is a middle class creators that is coming up more and more. We all the time see the headlines about 5 million followers here and all this, all this money made by this single person. But it's very interesting to see that the majority of these accounts of creators are actually 1 to 10K, 10 to 50K. So again, middle class, a lot of niche focus these days. Again, we'd love to talk about, more about that, but QR code you can download for free. There is a lot of information packed. So yeah, it's going to be a good one.
Okay, great. And then finally, Natalie Jarvie, why don't you talk a little about you?
Hi, like Drew said, I'm Natalie. I'm a journalist. I've been writing about the intersection of technology and Hollywood for over a decade with a particular focus on the creator economy. And last year I launched a newsletter as part of Inkler Media, the company behind the Inkler, which covers the entertainment industry. It's called Like and Subscribe, and it's all about the business of being a creator. So I really focus on creators as entertainers and social media content as entertainment, first and foremost. I just cited influencer marketing study here about the creator middle class just this last week. So I'm sure that's something we can get into. That's an area that I've been particularly interested in as well.
Amazing. So we have some great perspectives here represented on this panel. You know, expert who's been in the space for a long time. You're representing brands. You're doing some data analytics. I really want to start just talking about what are the major trends we're seeing in the now, and we can talk a little bit about what those implications are for the future. The first question I want to ask is really just about on the brand side, like what are we seeing with brands and creators from the brand side that are trends that are worth noting? We can talk about a bunch of things, but I want to let you guys just kind of jump in and talk about what you're seeing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Can get going. So as one would imagine, brands are all in on everything AI these days, the good, the bad, and the ugly. There is some very legitimate opportunities that pertain to AI around scalability of programs by automating some tasks. But most importantly, the thing that all the brands that we work with are attempting to do is to connect data sets. So what I mean by this is that there is media on one side, there's a creator data on the other, there is affiliation is another one. And so you have these major initiatives that historically have lived in a silo. And today with technology, they have an opportunity to connect these and to relate them to one another. It means specifically for creator that you don't need to just be one thing. You could be an advocate and an affiliate and do some content partnership and support media through boosting. All of this is possible, and these stacks are being built right now, so it's quite exciting.
So you're saying that AI from the purpose of like a co-pilot role or basically assisting in tasks, not necessarily in generative AI and like new content.
Right.
Or are you seeing that with creators?
Interestingly, I personally don't believe in synthetic creators. Or at least we haven't seen that work yet through data.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about like from a data perspective, is that working?
But so synthetic creators is just a marketing stunt today.
Okay.
That's the only place where it works. But with regards to AI content, the opposite actually is true, meaning with more Gen AI content being pushed on the market, it flushed the zone. And from a consumer standpoint, they actually use humans as a filter to the content they care about. So authenticity and the human side of content creation becomes even more important in context of an AI flooded zone.
Alessandro, do you see that like with the brands, is AI changing the way that they're working with creators?
I'd say mostly on the discovery side, maybe, for many years, discovery has been very keyword based. These days, thanks to AI, you can do image search, you can analyze videos, what is happening. So now you have a better categorization of influencers, let's say, and creators. So it's helpful in that way. I think that it's not replacing, right? As Pierre also was saying, it's not replacing, it's an addition to. What I think that more than AI these days, I mean, AI, it's helping, right? For sure. But what we've been seeing on the brand side, it's trying to get it away from the transactional, right? Model of influencer marketing. So instead of just going there, I'm going to pay you for, promoting this thing. How can we get from the one-off to becoming, getting back to ambassadorships? How can we have the creator getting on board, right? And actually helping shaping the promotion? Can we learn, right, from the creators? So instead of just saying, this is the product, please go and buy it, actually maybe some of these creators are getting on the board, right? And they're helping shaping what is next. So again, a bit less transactional, more co-creation, let's say. And that is, in my opinion, even more important than AI, because again, AI can be a great tool, but even before that, you want to understand how your brand is doing and what is the best way to learn from creators themselves and their own audience. So that's definitely something that is happening these days.
Natalie, I mean, with regards to like AI produced content, I know it gets a lot of headlines, especially if it's like, actors are going to be replaced. But with regards to generative AI, do you see that as an existential threat to creators, or is that a new opportunity for brands to create massive scale? What's your kind of POV on that?
I think there was a moment last year where a lot of creators thought it was an existential threat, and there were a lot of concerns, certainly around the launch of Sora. I think that's shifted. I don't think creators are as concerned now. And I do think a lot of creators are starting to see the value of AI tools and the way that they can integrate that into their workflow. I know there were a number of headlines a month or so ago about AI talking fruit. You may have seen some of that. I think there's definitely opportunity for fun, creative content to be made using AI. But that to me, I think, it still looks and feels different than like real creator content. And I think audiences are smart enough to understand that difference and to see a value in maybe something that's kind of scripted and comedic and funny using talking fruit.
Yeah.
But that won't necessarily replace the, steady stream of content from creators that they want to be seeing as well.
So, I mean, is that just because the AI generated content is just not good enough? Or do you think there's some other kind of thing here where AI generated content just will never provide whatever it is that authentic content provides to a brand, right? Alessandro, like, what are you saying? You represent creators, right? So can't there be creators that do just as well? Or is there something else here besides output, creative output, that makes a creator a viable partner for a brand?
What I say all the time is that, of course, there is a lot of tech components happening in influencer marketing. But what I say is that influencer marketing, the creator economy, it's a people business.
A people business.
It's a people business. You follow others because you trust them, because you like their content, because it's a friend that you never maybe met, but somehow, especially think about YouTube. Some of these people, you have been following them for 15 years. You saw them grow, right? And because of that, you have this feeling. What if now I replace, right, the real human being with maybe even themselves, right? Because there is all these new softwares, right? That you can easily just get your voice and recreate yourself. So becoming an avatar with yourself, and you can just recreate so many content. But then the trust factors, right? It goes away. I'm following you because I'm following you. If now I'm following someone that doesn't really have, a soul, that doesn't have experiences and so on, why am I doing that even, right? And so, again, AI, all these can help, can be interesting, right? I think there's some of this experimentation. But at the end of the day, I follow others because I can see part of me in someone else that is in front of the screen.
So that's very interesting, because I feel like so much of generative AI is about output. And we're learning through this onslaught of output and the AI slop that we see that there's some other value than final product that engages audiences, but also engages brands, right? Because I think what I'm learning here is that there's more to influencer marketing than videos and viewership, right? Because originally, I think an influencer or a content creator was both a media platform and a creative outlet, right? You do a deal with me, you're going to get your numbers because I have a huge audience, but I'm also going to do the creative. Now it sounds to me that there's a decoupling between impact and audience reach and creative. And that's going to create possibly a new opportunity for creators. And I think one of the instruments by which brands are doing that is with boosting. Does anyone want to talk about that? Are you familiar with boosting on the brand side?
Yeah, quite a bit.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about boosting and what that is and what kind of opportunity it is for creatives.
Yeah, so first of all, for the audience, social media boosting is the influencer marketing version of advertising. So what happens is that the creator will create a post, organic post that gets some traction. Their brand partner will decide to put some media dollars behind it, targeting specific audiences and increasing the visibility of the post. So that's what boosting is. Now, what's happening today is that compared to everything else in advertising that is extremely programmatic, boosting is still in, if I say the Middle Ages, I'm being generous. It's very, very manual. It's very clunky and it doesn't work very well at scale. And the problem with advertising is that if it's not at scale, it doesn't exist. And so what's being built right now is a series of tools, starting with some stuff that we do, but other platforms as well, including the social networks, to increase the connectors between an organic post from a creator being successful and the decisions around media that the brands need to make them faster and to make them better. So which audiences need to be targeted? How much money should I put behind it? On what platform? And within what time frame am I able to create that advertisement? So all of this is being built in front of our eyes. There's a huge opportunity. Right now, we went from a lot of brands spending way too much money without the data on boosting, to brands just clamping down on boosting because they haven't needed the results. Surprise, surprise. But we'll find the right middle, I'm guessing, in the next 12 to 18 months.
Natalie.
And I think one of the interesting reasons we're seeing a lot more of this, I think we should speak to, which is that all of our feeds are algorithmic now. So a creator makes a great piece of content. They can't guarantee that their entire audience is seeing that content.
That's right.
So boosting now almost feels like something you have to do to get it in front of the right people. And that becomes its own kind of issue. So I know this is something a lot of creators and people in this space are worried about and thinking a lot about, which is like, how do we actually just make sure the people who follow us see the content that we're making in the first place?
I'd like to add on this, 90% of our clients in the past year, they are giving us budget for paid media amplification. Like last year, compared to last year,
they're giving you budget.
Yeah, they're giving us budget to manage as an agency because for two reasons, right? Exactly what Natalie was saying. The algorithm, right? Many times your content is not seen by this many people anymore. So first of all, you want to boost it. And secondly, it's about ROI and ROAS, right? So basically the return on investment and the return on the advertising, spending, because these days, if you think about it, anytime that you have an extra click, at the end of the funnel, right, you're losing basically momentum because now you're saying, oh, there is a link in bio, go in there. And unfortunately, algorithm doesn't like when you say link in bio. So it's going to show about like, your content and so on. So now you're putting budget behind, you are guaranteed to have a link that you can click within, right, the advertising. And you go directly to a landing page, to an Amazon page, to a cart and whatever. And now you can actually track the performance, not only of is influencer marketing working, is the creator going working, the specific influencer with that content brought this amount of money in. And so now next time I can double down and, give even more money to that specific influencer or creator because brought the majority of ROI.
So then what's the implication here on creativity, on taste, on what is the white space and opportunity now for creators that can focus more on producing something compelling rather something that's popular, right? We've seen over the past decade the beastification of content where it's all about big, wide appeal, massive scale. Is there going to be a new opportunity for niche with creators? Natalie.
It feels like we're in that now already. I mean, I don't think we'll ever see another Mr. Beast again in quite the same way. Now, of course, people who've been doing this for a long time still have these massive audiences on these platforms. Those aren't going to go away overnight. But where we're seeing the most growth is with smaller, more niche creators who, engagement is a lot higher often with their content because they have a more devoted community of people who are really tuned in to what they're saying, what they're posting. And often they can convert a lot higher when it comes to getting someone to click out and buy a piece of merch or a subscription to a course or join a membership or, any of these other kind of ancillary ways that creators make money today.
Yeah, so true. Like, I think if you're a niche creator and you can't achieve massive scale that attracts brand dollars, you can find other ways to convert your audience into sustainable consumers, like whether it's like private links or merch or other things. But now it sounds like advertisers are finding ways to leverage engaged audiences around content as opposed to scale and reach. And right. So I think we're seeing an opportunity for creative people to make it in a new way.
And that was like, the slide, right, that we showed earlier about the middle class creators that, again, there is a lot happening in terms of niches, right? I agree, right? Like that big scale and being that creator that works for everyone, for every taste and so on. It might not work anymore because even if you think about whenever that type of influencer that create the big creator is asking in terms of how much to pay, sometimes we're talking about a lot of money and the ROI might not be there, because what if that post, the single post of this single person flop for some reason, right? Or again, it's not received well. So if you go a bit more niche, right, you're going to have these, and Natalie, you were saying before about, communities, right? We've been seeing going from passive audiences of these big influencers that are mostly just watching and sometimes liking it, so to active communities. Talking about creators that might have 50,000 followers in a specific niche, right?
50.
Yeah, 50, like 50,000 followers. So like not the crazy number you expect to, but they might have a Discord channel where people are discussing about, I would love to do an A/B testing for my next thumbnail for YouTube. Can my, active community tell me which one should I go with? And so again, we've been seeing that way better these days to go with an active community that actually help you co-create. That's someone that has maybe a passive audience. You're spending a lot of money on one single post that flops. And
right. So more longer term partnerships are emerging here between creators, and we're seeing that. I think how that now affects the content form factor, right? We're seeing new types of content with clipping and with micro dramas, right? Those are two things that I think are kind of buzzwords now. I mean, Natalie, can you explain a little bit about like what we're seeing in terms of the content that's gaining traction in the creator economy?
Yeah, I mean, all the rise of all of these short form platforms like TikTok and then the ones that have followed have led to you've got this kind of bifurcation. You've got YouTube where long form content is continuing to really work, but then you've got shorts and you've got reels and you've got these places where everything now is being clipped and put out often sometimes with spend behind it to get out to as many people as possible to try to drive back to that original piece of content, which doesn't, I think, always happen. I don't think there's a whole lot of data around that. But what's interesting is you see this both from creators are doing this, like Mr. Beast does this, like there's lots of huge creators who pay clippers to clip up their content and distribute it as widely as possible. People in Hollywood are now doing this too. There was a popular FX show this year called Adults that a colleague of mine wrote about how there were clippers who were making sure that clips of those episodes were finding their way to TikTok and to other platforms and trying to drive awareness around them. On the microdrama side, I mean, that's a whole separate topic. We could have a whole 30-minute conversation about, I feel like, Drew. But what I find interesting there is similarly the way that these microdrama platforms are using short form video on TikTok, on Reels, on Shorts to get people hooked and interested in these stories and then converting people back to their app where you can actually pay to watch the full story. And that's where, the majority of the marketing spend for microdramas is happening, is on those short form platforms.
So it's like a mini Netflix, mini platform, right? Because I'm thinking like, why now? Like, why now microdramas? I mean, we've been producing in this industry for 2 decades plus content from webisodes, if anyone remembers what those are. Like, why now are microdramas a thing? Is it because they finally figured out a way to make money with it, or what do you think?
Well, come on over to the media and entertainment stage tomorrow, where I'm moderating another panel on this very topic, Drew.
I know.
But no, I mean, I think it's a confluence of things. It is that these apps, which primarily come from Asia and from China, have gotten incredibly smart at how to build that loop, right, of getting people in the door and getting them to download this random app you've never heard of before to watch a show and pay these micro payments to watch the show. And then once you're in and you're hooked, you're going to keep paying and keep watching. And then there's also, I think, what's happening in Hollywood right now, which is that there are so many people in Hollywood who are out of work, either established artisans and craftspeople or students who are graduating from film school and looking for work. And you've suddenly got a huge pool of talent who are saying, hey, I can go work on a 12-day microdrama set and make pretty good money. I mean, not as good as you could get from your, SAG or IATSE contract gig, but not bad. And if you stack enough of those up, suddenly that's a pretty compelling year of salary for someone who's waiting around to, get hired on a 6-episode Netflix series that may or may not ever happen.
That's a really, really good point.
So I think it's those two things together has created this environment where, Hollywood is really propping up microdramas in a lot of ways and investing a lot of time and interest in in turning this into a bigger, more sustainable format.
That's true. I mean, like there's so much specialized talent in Hollywood. Like it's not just the multi-hyphenate, you know, you have writers, you have all the below the line talent, you have the directors, you have the performers. And so that format, like a microdrama, feels more TV than anything else. And
my grand theory is that I think creators are the ones who are really going to own the microdrama space because there's so much more natural overlap there in terms of like the kind of down and dirty, get something done on the cheap, but it still looks really good and it's still engaging. Like creators understand that
they know that natively
better than some person who was an executive at a premium cable network.
That's so very true. I think when we started the Streamy Awards, I don't know if you heard the Streamies, that's our show. It came right after the Writers Guild strike, and there was like a platform called Strike TV, and that was like, it was kind of like not microdramas because they were trying to do full 30-minute episodes, but the idea was like there's all these out of work people that were trying to do something. And so it's funny these cycles happen, and I want to actually, yes, thank you. Speaking of cycles, like where are we in the live video cycle? Because over the last 20 years, we've been doing this, like live comes and then live, you know, it ebbs and flows. Right now, I think we're like at like an ebb tide on live. Particularly what made me think of this is that, you know, a lot of Asian and Chinese apps about live shopping is happening, but are you seeing that as like another marketing moment, or is this really the future?
You know, I think that when people think about live sessions, they think it's, you know, you just go in front of a camera and you can just do it, you know. But I think that we're missing the type of role, I'd say, for a good like live streamer.
Okay.
Because, you know, you can have live streamers on Twitch or, you know, gaming and so on. But when you do like, for instance, like live commerce, right?
Yeah.
That again in China is working
like social commerce.
Like social commerce, and you do that live. You need a specific type of role that, again, you know, in China, Indonesia, like many other like Asian, East Asian countries works well. That I think that in the US, Europe, I think it's currently missing. It's someone that not only knows very well the product, they can be on live for 6 to 8 hours, non-stop. They need to know everything about, they need to know how to, engage with the audience, because they will ask you questions. Can I see this in a different color? Can you try that on? And so on. You need a moderator, right? They can check on the real-time comments and just being able to see what is noise and what is a question. You need to have there is so much production behind that I think that people take it a bit, you know, like they think you just go live and that's about it. So I think that we're missing that. Like, again, if you see, there are stories about like, you know, China where there are all these mini booths, right? And every person has one camera right in front of them and they just stream and they try to sell the most possible. So again, I think it's a model that in certain countries works well. Here, we're still, I don't know. I think it's easy. The idea is easy. The execution might be a bit more difficult.
I think of live as being a little bit top of the funnel. If you think about all of the content that a creator can make, like if you look at TBPN, which just sold to OpenAI, right? People have been talking a lot about that deal recently. What was really interesting to me when I spent time with that team is that they produce a 3-hour daily live show. And then they release it as a podcast on their RSS feed. And then they do a cut down version of the 3-hour live show, and they release that one as its own podcast. And then they also put that cut down, the video podcast episodes up on YouTube. And then they've also got clips. And so live is really just the means through which they generate all that content in a really cost effective way, because they've got a standing set. They're bringing, you know, people on to do interviews. They've got a couple, you know, cameras that aren't moving. That's an incredible way to make a lot of content that then you can extract as much value as possible out of in this ecosystem.
Yeah, it's like Anthony Bourdain, like, you know, you have like the high-end restaurant where you have like the nice cuts of salmon, but then you take the strips and you put those into like the fish tacos, you know, for the brasserie. And then of course it always ends up in the cipollini soup at the end. You know, you never let any food go to waste, right? It's the same kind of concept here with content. The last thing I wanted to touch on in the last 90 seconds is the rise of the creator studio. Like, we're seeing this more and more. We have Darman speaking here in Darman Studios here at NAB Show. And what Darman has successfully done is remove his face, so to speak, from the content, which is something I think that Beast is struggling with, because Mr. Beast needs to necessarily be part of every piece of content. And although he's a superhuman that works 24 hours a day, that his own limitation is himself, right? He can't, there's not a lot of Mr. Beast content in which Mr. Beast, you know, Jimmy Donaldson is not in. Whereas Darman has figured out a way to create a form factor in which he can lend his popularity to promoting, but he isn't an essential bottleneck in terms of output. Are we seeing any more trends around creator studios and the ability to scale in the last 40 seconds? Yeah, Pierre.
So I can't say that there's a trend in this respect specifically, but if you broaden the point and think of creator native brands in general, so beyond the content, it's definitely happening, and it's happening very successfully, including from celebrities that manage to outgrow their brand with the set of creators that they work with.
But what does that mean, celebrities that outgrow their brand?
So you can take Charlotte Tilbury would be an example. Rare Beauty would be another one.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of brands that are born with a creator at the center that are the image of the brand at first, but outgrowing the brand means that the community of creators ends up being the ones carrying the load to grow and scale the brand.
Oh, I see what you're saying. That's interesting.
And it's happening left and right.
I'll just say quickly too, something to think about is not just what you're seeing in the content, right? Whose face is in the videos, but also what are the creators doing behind the scenes to create an environment in which they can take a step back. Darman hired a president, hired someone who, a CEO, I think, who came from traditional Hollywood. I noticed that Jesser, the popular YouTube creator, recently announced a big kind of reorganization of the holding company.
And this isn't just for optics. Like, this is for real.
This is real. They're hiring Dude Perfect brought on someone who'd worked at the NBA to run their business. Like, you know, these creators are not just removing themselves from the camera, but they're also creating mini studios, creating media companies behind the scenes that will then allow them to have a foundation to bring in other talent, to expand to a brand, to merch, to live events, you know, whatever, and create that, you know, platform that allows them to take a step back.
Yeah. Not only are they looking for these people are taking these jobs, which means, you know, they're betting on this industry and the opportunity and growth. We're over time. I really do greatly appreciate, our panelists, and thank you so much. Let's give them a round of applause for their time and expertise. And we got to get moving, but did everyone get a chance to get those QR codes? Does anyone, you got it? No, you didn't. Can we run through it? Am I going to be in trouble?
No,
I can't go backwards. How do you go backwards on this?
Like and subscribe. And we do have panels happening on another stage all about the more traditional Hollywood space. So stay here, but also come check us out over in the North Hall.
Got this. Got this. And then this is the most important one. Oh, no. That one. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.